Movies come from different genres, countries, time periods, and storytellers. Yet with so many differences, they can become so similar. This is true for the films Shaun of the Dead and Good Will Hunting. Shaun of the Dead was released in 2004 and directed by Edgar Wright. The British film follows Shaun as he tries to bring everyone he cares about together during a zombie breakout. Good Will Hunting, an American film released in 1994, directed by Gus Van Sant, follows Will Hunting, a young man with a promising future, as he finds self-worth. The idea of emotional maturity is a driving force for both films. They both use the bad influence character trope to convey this. According to
Writers Help Writers,
the definition of the bad influence character trope is, this character compromises others and leads them down the wrong path. They could be villainous, deliberately attempting to misguide others, or simply a friend who's always getting people in trouble. In Shaun of the Dead, Ed is dragging Shaun down. Ed represents Shaun's immaturity and laziness. This contrasts with Shaun's other roommate, Pete, who is mature and has a respectable job. Both act as foils to one another and represents Shaun's internal struggle with how to go about life. Kind of like the devil and the angel on Shaun's shoulders. Part of the character arc Shaun goes on is that he needs to mature if he wants to continue with his life. But his immature past isn't something to completely run away from, as it is okay on a controlled level, characterized by Zombie Ed, who Shaun keeps in his shed. In Good Will Hunting's friends aren't bad people. They are just poor Boston kids who get by on low-paying jobs and enjoy to screw around. Every day they will go out for food, watch Little League games, go to bars near colleges to hit on girls, go to batting cages but not pay for the pitching machine, and get in fights. Although they are a bad influence on Will, who is a young man with a lot of promise due to his high intelligence. He doesn't go anywhere because he just wants to hang out with his friends. Even when given the opportunity to flourish by leaving to California and live with his new girlfriend, or when receiving job offers by the most prestigious companies and organizations, he would deny it all. Part of his character arc is realizing that his friends actually want him to leave because they care for him, and they know his future has the potential to be more successful than others. It just took a talk with his best friend Chucky Sullivan to realize that. Marxist film theory isn't directly about communism. The name came from the Russian film directors who made political films who were Marxists. Marxist film theory revolves around subliminal political commentary, handling concepts such as classism, social injustices, and political hierarchy. In Shaun of the Dead, the imagery of the zombie is meant to represent the workforce, consumerism, and adulthood. During the pre-zombie outbreak portion of the film, supermarket workers, service workers, and everyday people groan, lean over, and walk around as zombies do in films like Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and other zombie films which Shaun of the Dead is parodying. They look tired of their lives as their draining jobs take over their lives, and they are forced to conform to the way society is formed. The quote-unquote zombies are meant to just accept the life they live. Later on in the film, during the zombie outbreak, Shaun and his friends escape to a bar, and when they turn on the power, Don't Stop Me Now by the Queen starts blasting on the jukebox, which lures in a horde of zombies. The imagery of the zombies, who represent the disgruntled workforce, paired with the concert imagery of the zombies reaching for flashing lights while a Queen song plays, with the main characters trying to escape yelling, "David, kill the Queen!" on top of it, represents the political hierarchy in the United Kingdom. In Good Will Hunting, Will is constantly challenging those who get a rise out of people with their intelligence, or in the case for the most famous scene in the film, an individual who thinks he's smarter than he actually is. Towards the beginning of the film, Will and his friends go to a bar by Harvard to hit on girls, where one of his friends, in the process of flirting with a girl, a ponytail man, tries to get a rise out of him. To defend his friend, Will engages with the man, who, in their argument, the ponytailed friend plagiarizes a quote from Daniel Vickers' Farmers and Fishermen, 2 centuries of work in Essex County, Massachusetts, 1630 to 1850, and passes it off as his own, which Will cites him by the page number and points out that he is full of it, and that he didn't have to pay tuition to use his wits to pick up girls. The ponytail man points out that Will may be smarter than him, but that he would have a degree, showing the class disparity between the two. They are both incredibly smart, although since the ponytailed man had the money for college, he will be seen as more valuable to Will on paper. Another instance of class disparity is when Will meets with his therapist, Shaun McGuire. In Will's attempt to tear Shaun's character apart by what is in his room, Will tells Shaun directly to his face his disdain for people who collect books, because it would just be cheaper to pay the late fees at the library instead of hoarding everything. Will's disdain for people who waste their money to keep their books rather than just the knowledge shows Will's disdain for those who have it better off than others. Later in the film, Will is offered a job by several of the biggest companies and organizations thanks to the help of Professor Gerald Lambeau getting his name out there. One of the organizations is the NSA, or the National Security Agency, which promises Will with access to the nation's most classified documents and many other benefits that would seem intriguing to any other person. Will, in response, begins to ridicule that organization.
Say I'm working at the NSA and somebody puts a code on my desk, something no one else can break. Maybe I take a shot at it, and maybe I break it. And I'm real happy with myself because I did my job well. But maybe that code was the location of some rebel army in North Africa or the Middle East. And once they have that location, they bomb the village where the rebels are hiding. 1,500 people that I never met, never had no problem with, get killed. Now the politicians are saying, oh, send in the Marines to secure the area because they don't give a shit. It won't be their kid over there getting shot, just like it wasn't them when their number got called because they were all pulling a tour in the National Guard. It'll be some kid from Southie over there taking shrapnel in the ass.
To sum up the quote, Will sees the power he could have in the American government, and he sees how his power could be used to hurt other people. And that's not what he wants. He doesn't want to kill some innocent people just because it makes someone richer than him sleep better at night. Shaun of the Dead and Good Will Hunting on the surface are completely different films in tone, but the concepts and messaging in both films have a lot in common. Both have a story of a young man in relationship trouble struggling to mature for the prospects of success, but by the end leave behind the negative aspects of the people who dragged them down, but retain the parts that elevated them and go on to live in the success they had the potential to be.